Good evening, my friends, and welcome to this storytime video. Tonight's video is, I call it, I don't like flying. And, well, I really don't. It's not like I'm afraid of flying, but let me give you some reasons for why I don't like flying. I have not been flying a lot of times, but I've done it a few times. Back in 1988, I flew to Australia and back. In general, you can say when I fly, and I guess that is one of the reasons why I don't like flying, but when I fly, I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. So I always find the cheapest ticket. And of course you get what you pay for. I know. The first time I fly was when I flew to Australia back in 1988. And I flew with Air India. And, well, it was cheap. That's for sure. But it was a very, very long trip. It took me 30 hours to get from Copenhagen to Sydney. And it was not just like one job, you know. The trip was Copenhagen to Frankfurt, Frankfurt to New Delhi, New Delhi to Bombay, Bombay to Singapore, Singapore to Sydney. So it was like do. Oh, and it was, well, first of all, it was my first time ever. I had been traveling quite a bit already, but not like flying. I never done that before, so it was quite a, well, quite a first time. Copenhagen to Frankfurt was no problem. It was with SAS. It was I bought the whole trip through India. They don't have any planes on that route from Copenhagen to Frankfurt, so I guess they pay SAS to take their passengers that bit of the way. So that was fine, no problem. SAS is nice planes and all, nice cabin crew and all. So no problem there. But then from Frankfurt to New Delhi was on an Air India plane, and you know, you get on the plane and sit down and realize there's not enough room. There was seriously not enough room for my legs. When I sat normal, my legs would touch the seat in front of me. My knees would touch, and it was very uncomfortable. But anyway, well, it was cheap, so what do you expect? Then it was time for having something to eat, and the cabin crew came around and asked, curry chicken or curry lamb? And I don't say it that way to insult anyone, but for me that was exactly how it sounded. And it was just like, curry chicken or curry lamb? Okay, well, chicken, I guess. It was, well, I guess food you get on an airplane is never very interesting, and this was for sure not interesting at all. And then it was like, oh, I could have a soft drink, please. No, you can have tea. Okay, so curry chicken with tea. Well, okay, curry chicken with tea it is. And arrived Sydney airport, and I hadn't had any sleep, and I was jet lagged, and I was sore in my entire body from sitting in a small seat with no leg room, and you know, it was not very pleasant. I had a great vacation in Australia back then, and I told some things from that vacation already, and I will tell more later on a later occasion. But anyway, when it was time to go back home, I thought, oh well, it's gonna be exactly like when I came, so it's not a problem. I can do that. I got on the plane in Sydney, and it flew to again Singapore. No problems there. From Singapore to Bombay. Yeah, I got a note down here. From Singapore to Bombay. And when I get to Bombay Airport, I walk into the airport and there's 3 counters. And there would be a sign over the counter with the name of the plane that you needed to get on. So you could check in, like a check-in desk. And in India, it's just the counter. And there was these 3 counters next to each other. And the number of the plane that I was going on was not over any of the counters. So I was like, whoa, what to do now? So I decided just to get in one of the lines because, well, then I could ask the person. So, and actually it said the same number over all 3 counters. Anyway, I got up to the counter and presented my ticket, and the lady took one look at the ticket and said, no, next line. Ah, okay, whatever. Back in the line next to me at the next counter. Waited for a while, got up to the counter, presented my ticket. The lady took one look. No, not here. Next counter. And I was like, okay. Got back in line, waited, got up to the front of the line, to the counter, presented my ticket. And she says, and that lady said, no plane. And I was like, no plane? But I got a ticket for the plane. What, no plane? What do you mean no plane? Now go talk. And she pointed to a guy that was sitting over at a counter. Go talk to him. Okay, I walked over there, presented my ticket, and he said, yeah, that plane is cancelled. I was like, yes, and then? Oh, you can get on a plane tomorrow. Just go sit down. You can. And I was like, what? What's going on? And I looked over there the way he pointed, and there was some other young people over there. There was like 5 young people, and I went over there and asked them if they were going to Frankfurt as well. And they were like, yeah, they were. And the plane cancelled, and we found out all 5 of us were going to Frankfurt and on the same plane that was not going. So, after talking a little bit, I decided we're not gonna wait until tomorrow. This was like 8 o'clock in the evening, and I didn't want to wait till the next day because I didn't have a hotel to stay in. I didn't have anywhere. I would sleep on the floor in an airport. I don't think so. So I was like, we need to do something about this. We need to go talk to that guy, and he needs to get us on another plane. We got a plane to catch from Frankfurt. We cannot just sit here. So I went over to the counter and I said to him, excuse me, sir, but we need to get to Frankfurt tonight because we got planes. I'm going to Copenhagen, and that couple over there, they're going to Oslo, and I explained the whole situation for him, and he was like, okay, well, leave your tickets and your passports here with me. And the other guys, or the other travelers, they were about starting to look for their passport. And I was like, haha, hold it. You never leave your passport anywhere. He got nothing to do with your passport. He's not a custom officer. So your ticket, well, that's up to you. I'm not going to. But my passport, or your passports, never, ever leave your passport with anyone. That is just a big no. So we talked a little bit about it, and we decided, okay, we're gonna leave our tickets with him, but passports, no way. And then we went over and sat back down and waited, and he made a couple of phone calls and drank a cup of coffee and some more phone calls and more coffee, and he was not in a hurry, not at all. He looked very relaxed. And then at one point he got up from his chair, put on his cap, very fancy big cap, and then he walked away from the desk and disappeared, our tickets in hand. And we waited and waited and waited, and I think we waited for an hour. And then this guy, he came back, and very casual, sat down and poured a cup of coffee and leaned back, put his legs up and put his feet on the desk, and just, had his coffee, and we were like waiting for him to kind of call us over or something. And then after he finished his coffee, he put the cup down and he straightened his back, and then he, like, come over here. And we got up and went over there, all of us, and he was like, yeah, looking at his watch. In 10 minutes, Lufthansa is taking off from the other end of the airport. You guys have a seat on that plane. Have a nice trip. And then he poured another cup of coffee. And he put our tickets on the counter. And we were like, 10 minutes? Grabbed our tickets and ran all the way. And I tell you, Bombay Airport is big. And especially when you got 10 minutes to get to the other end. So it was just like running. And I'm not good at running, but, well, we got there and the door closed right behind us. That's for sure. It was like through, bong, closed. And got into the cabin and sat down and leaned back, and all of a sudden it was like coming to a different country, because Lufthansa is a German company and everything was under control and everything was perfect, and good food, and would you like a glass of wine or a beer or something, and it was like, whoa, what happened here? All of a sudden there was service and nice treatment and all, and we actually got to Frankfurt faster than we would have if we had been on the Air India plane. So we catched our planes from Frankfurt to, well, for me to Copenhagen, and for the other guys to their countries. All of us Scandinavians. But yeah, that was my first trip. Flying. Horrible. Horrible. Anyway, you would think that I would learn from that, and then next time I would want to fly, I would pay a little more money to get a little bit better service. Well, no. I was about to say quite the contrary. The next time I wanted to fly was the first time I flew to Thailand. I was in 2001. And I was going from Copenhagen to Bangkok. And of course, looking for the ticket, I was looking for the cheapest one. And the cheapest one I could find was with Aeroflot. Aeroflot is or was, I don't know if they still exist, a Russian airliner. So, it was cheap. Yeah. Again, not enough room. Well, you just kind of have to sit in an angle, and yeah, it's durable. The next surprise, the cabin crew. Normally cabin crew are smiling and friendly, and not on Aeroflot. They looked angry. They were arguing among each other. I don't know what they were arguing about, obviously, because it was in Russian. The first part of the trip was Copenhagen, Moscow. And that's a very short trip. It was like an hour or so. So there was no serving or anything. Then there was 11 hours wait in Moscow airport. 11 hours. Oh, well, what to do? Normally in an airport you can walk around and look at tax-free shops and whatever, sit down in a comfy chair and relax and maybe have a nap or whatever. But in Moscow airport, no. Back then, I don't know how it is now, but back then there was basically no shops. Comfy chairs, none. All I could find was a wooden bench. I tried to sit on it. I tried to lay down on it. And I was told not to. So, walking around Moscow airport or sitting on a wooden bench or sitting on the floor, which was kind of dirty and nasty, for 11 hours. Anyway, I got on the plane and flew Moscow, Bangkok. And arriving Bangkok an hour late. That's okay, you know. That can happen. Bad weather or the plane couldn't fly as fast as it was supposed to or whatever. I don't know. But walked down to the baggage claim and waited for quite a long time before the bags started coming. And then there was a lot of bags coming and people picked their bags and people kind of walked away, and in the end I was the only one there. And then they turned off the conveyor and my bag never came. So I was like, okay, that's not good. What to do now? So there were some people there, and I walked up to someone who worked there and said, excuse me, but my bag, it never came. My bag is missing. And he took me to some corridors and up some stairs and to some offices, and there was a room. First we went into a room and it was with lost bags, and I had to look if my bag was one of them, and of course it wasn't. And then he took me to a room where I had to write basically a complaint that I hadn't got my bag and I wanted it, and where they were supposed to bring it, or if they found when they found, if they found it, and again I was terribly jet lagged and not very happy and hungry and headache, and it was hard to be positive, that's for sure. I had to do my best to be nice, but anyway, after finishing all this and got all this settled, and I finally could get out into the arrival area. And I have to say, at this time, back then she was my girlfriend, wife to be, was waiting for me. And I was like 3.5 hours late from the plane arrived till I walked out in the arrival area was past 3.5 hours. And I was thinking, you have to remember, this lady, I had talked to her online. It was the first time I was going to meet her in real life. and I was 3.5 hours late. I was thinking, is she still there or have she left? Maybe she thought, well, he's not coming. He was just lying and he's not real or whatever. So I was worried if she was there or not. Because if she was not there, what should I do? I was in Bangkok with nothing booked, no plans, no nothing. My first time in Thailand. And no bag, no nothing. But luckily, she was there. She was still waiting. It was wonderful and all good and so on. And that's for another story. When it was time to fly back from Thailand, I was down there during Christmas and New Year 2001, 2002. And I actually flew back to Denmark the 1st of January 2002. And it was not a lot of fun. We did get engaged while I was in Thailand, and we had a great time, and we loved each other very much. And then I flew away. Then I left for Denmark, and obviously I was very sad. And the trip home, to be completely honest, I don't remember much from it. It's well, my mind, well, and my heart was somewhere else. So the the flight back to Denmark was, well, I don't know. On a later occasion, my fiance, wife to be, came to Denmark, and she used a Finnish airline, Air Finland or something like that. I'm not sure what the name of the company. But when I picked her up in the airport in Copenhagen, exactly the same thing had happened to her. Her bags were gone. I have to say though, both when I arrived in Thailand and when she arrived in Denmark, the bags came the next day, so it was not a big deal, and nothing was missing or anything. So it was just, it was okay. After we got married, we married in Denmark and all, and then we needed to fly back to Thailand because she was not allowed to stay in Denmark. Danish immigration law is so wonderful, I tell you. And the thing was, she had a ticket already. She had bought a return ticket. She had to get a Danish visa. To get a Danish tourist visa, she had to show a return ticket. So she had the return ticket already. I could not get a ticket on the same airplane. So I kind of again decided for the cheap solution. And I could get a ticket on an Aeroflot airplane a week later. So that's what I did. And well, it was, well, pretty much like the first time, a lot of waiting time in Moscow airport, angry cabin crew, poor food, well, not only poor, very bad food, just basically unpleasant. Though my bags didn't get lost. Then some years later, it was 2008, we wanted to fly back to live in Denmark. Well, actually not live in Denmark, but live in Sweden. But we flew back to Copenhagen. And of course, again, buying plane tickets, we wanted to do it cheaply. But, well, my wife had heard my stories about Aeroflot, so she didn't want to go on that one. So I found some cheap tickets with the Turkish Airlines. And I thought, well, must be better. They're a little more expensive, so must be a little better. Oh. Well, the ticket was from Bangkok to Istanbul, Copenhagen, and that's okay. You know, one stopover is no problem. We had, I think we had 4 hours. Yeah, we had 4 hours in Istanbul, and now we were traveling 3 people: my wife, myself, and our daughter. Our daughter was 4 years old at the time, and she loved traveling. We had been traveling some while we lived in Thailand, both to Malaysia and to the islands in Thailand, and she loved it. She was enjoying it when we traveled, so it was very easy to bring her to travel. It was no problem at all. And the same with this trip. You know, we flew from the south of Thailand to Bangkok, and then we had some hours wait in Bangkok, and then we flew from Bangkok to Istanbul. And both myself and my daughter and my wife did not tolerate cigarette smoke. I simply get a very bad headache and problem with, I got asthma and get problem with that, and my wife would get a headache as well, and so we needed to find somewhere where there was no cigarette smoke. And the only place we could find in Istanbul airport, I know it's changed now, but back then, the only place where there was no smoking was Burger King kids area. So we spent 4 hours on some not very pleasant benches, seatings, I don't know what to call it, in Burger King's kids area. And both my daughter and my wife was very tired, so they took a nap on each their bench, and I kept an eye on the bags, our handbag. And then finally it was time to get back on an airplane and fly to Copenhagen. And after we had our dinner on the plane, we needed to get some shut-eye. And my daughter could not sleep in sitting up. She couldn't fall asleep like that. So I decided that okay, it's fine. I found out that the armrest between my seat and her seat could flip up. So I flipped that, and then she could sleep on her own seat and my one. And then she could sleep. I put a couple of pillows so it was more comfortable for her. And then she could sleep, and she fell asleep almost instantly. And I sat between the seats on the floor. So I couldn't sleep. That's okay, you know. If you have kids, you know, you do anything for your kid. So that was all good. And we arrived Copenhagen airport. We got our bags. And we got out of the baggage claim and through customs and no problems. And then we needed to catch a train from Copenhagen to the western part of Denmark. And after we got on the train with all our bags, that was kind of stressful, you know. We got 2 bags each, and obviously our 4-year-old daughter could not carry 2 heavy bags and her handbags, and you know, so we kind of had to put her on the train, my wife on the train, and I would then hand her the bags, and stressful. And we got into the train and found a place to sit, and the standard in Danish trains are quite good, so the seats are good and all, and it didn't take long, then both my wife and my daughter was fast asleep, and I was keeping an eye on the bags. Well, I know this is not about flying, but still, when we arrived my parents' place, they were at the train station to greet us and help us with the bags and all. And when the door opened, we got out, and I was carrying my daughter, and then my dad, he said, "Let me take her so you can take the bags," and he take her and put her on the platform, and she just stand there. I have to say, this was March, and we came direct from Thailand. 40 degrees. March in Denmark, it was minus 10 degree. It was at night, and my daughter just kind of stood like frozen. It looked so funny, this 4-year-old. Obviously, we had bought some jumpers and stuff so that we would stay warm. And actually, my parents brought some jackets to the train station so we could stay warm also. But it was just funny to see. But anyway, it was just, again, an airplane ride where the seat couldn't recline enough for my daughter to sleep, so she had to sleep on 2 seats, and I had to sit on the floor, and it was just... And then I got this problem when I fly, that my ears won't pop. When you get up, they tell you to swallow or yawn or something like that to equal out the pressure, and it just didn't happen. And it just doesn't happen to me. For me, it's painful. It just don't equal out. It's yeah. So flying, I don't like it. It's not nice. It's not comfortable. It's yeah. I'd rather drive. And actually, I flew one more time. We flew to Paris, from Copenhagen to Paris for a family vacation. But that is only, I think it's an hour. It's like up and down very quickly. And, it was quite uneventful, and we got our bags and all. But it's just, no, flying's not for me. Also, I'm not in control. Being in an airplane, you have to trust the pilot. I know he's doing a great job, and they're very skilled and all, but no, I'd rather be in control, being at the steering wheel. So, but I know maybe I need to go fly again in the future. Obviously, if I want to go to, well, somewhere far away like America or whatever. And sure, I can do it, no problem. It's as I say, I'm not scared of flying. It's just not comfortable. So let me know how you feel about flying. Do you enjoy it? Have you flown a lot? Have you had any fun stories? Any crazy experiences? Lost bags? Whatever. Let me know in the comments. So that's it for my story time video this time. I hope you enjoyed it. Actually, there's one thing I want to ask you guys. Please share my channel with your friends, family, whatever, on your social medias and all. For some reason, I'm stuck at 630 subscribers. Though I have to say, it's 630 wonderful subscribers. That's for sure. No doubt about that. But why is it I think for the last 6 months, the count have been just around 630. It's been down to 620. It's been up to 635, but it doesn't go beyond that. Let's see if we can do something to raise the numbers. You know, I enjoy making these videos for you guys, and I know, well, some of you at least, I hope all of you enjoy my videos. So let's see if we can push the number up, you know. Well, thank you for listening, and remember, life is good. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.